Hey everyone, my name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. If you like investing in the most undervalued assets out there, this is the channel for you. That's what we're looking for. That's where I'm finding that value. And it's mainly been in commodities right now. So today we're going to look at ratios, and ratios tell us relative value, asset versus asset, and it tells us a bunch of other things. I'm going to look at some market conditions as well, the dollar, what Treasury yields are doing, just to see what the market conditions are saying and if we're in good market conditions or if those market conditions are changing. So let's jump in. I call this ratio day. So ratios, what do they tell us? They tell us relative value, so an asset versus an asset, and it tells you that relative value, which one's undervalued, which one's overvalued. It determines outperformance, depending on what direction the ratio is going. It tells us certain market conditions and signals. It also gives us our buy points and sell points because that's what tells us when they're of good value and when they are getting overvalued. So I've got the dollar pulled up here, and you can see it's obviously in a downtrend. A downtrend or a weaker dollar is favorable for our investments. So that looks good. We want yields to go higher, which means that we have inflation, which is the wind at our back for our investments. And it also is an indication that the bond market thinks that we have inflation as well. That's why these yields are increasing. They're selling bonds because there's inflation that's out there, which increases the yields and basically clears the market with higher yields as inflation is there. Next is Treasury inflation-protected securities. This would also be in an uptrend if we were having inflation. We are having inflation. It's clear in this trend that it's up. And typically gold follows this trend. So gold's just lagging it. Tips are pulling higher. I'd like to see gold pull higher here shortly. This is the Dow to gold ratio. So when this ratio is going up, Dow's outperforming gold. When the ratio is going down, gold is outperforming the Dow. And right now we're in this pausing pattern. It's moving sideways. And I'm expecting this to go to the downside with gold outperforming the Dow eventually. We're at a 16.75 to 1 ratio, 16 ounces to 1 Dow. Next, gold to silver ratio. And typically what this means is when silver going down outperforms gold, that we're in a commodities bull market. It has been outperforming. We just broke to the downside of this little pattern here, and we're heading lower, I think. So it's looking good for silver to outperform gold. So silver would be the investment here. Gold to copper. Copper's outperforming gold. It's going to the downside. Means copper's the one that you want to be in. Next, gold to oil ratio. Oil is outperforming gold. You can see this pattern right here that it broke out to the downside. And we were heading lower. This is where we loaded up in a lot of our companies because I was like, man, this thing's going to break to the downside. And it did. We're still at a ratio of 35 to 1, which means oil is an absolute steal. So it's still good to be in these companies. We have a very long way to go. An expensive ratio would be 10 or below. We're at 35. That means that oil is going to have to go up at a faster rate than gold on a 3 to 4 to 1 basis. We are going to be outperforming gold 3 or 4 times. Next, here's oil to natural gas ratio. I can see a trend line right here going across. I bet you natural gas will probably head lower. That's my guess, which means natural gas will outperform oil. Tough to say. We are kind of coming up. January, we're still in the middle of winter, so I think it's possible that this is probably going to be a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder, and it's going to come back down, which means we could see an outperformance in natural gas. Next is platinum to silver ratio. Not a lot of people chart this one, but what I see is a upward channel. Platinum's outperforming silver. Keep in mind that silver is very volatile, and this ratio could turn at any point, but platinum's outperforming silver at the moment. Here's another one, platinum to palladium ratio. When this ratio goes up, platinum's outperforming. If I see a clear line here going across where platinum is about to break to the upside, it means that platinum is the metal to hold over palladium. So platinum's the one to hold here. Platinum is also extremely cheap right here. A 0.463 ratio has not really been seen in history for the platinum to palladium ratio. Next, gold to platinum. So platinum's on the bottom. So when this thing's going down, platinum's outperforming. It broke out of this chart pattern, and we're heading lower, which means platinum's outperforming gold. So platinum's outperforming all of the metals. It's outperforming gold, palladium, silver. It's, doing very well. That's the one on a ratio basis that's signaling that platinum is the cheapest metal in relationship to all the other metals. That's the metal that I would be purchasing, and that's the metal I have been purchasing. Silver and platinum are the two metals that I think have absolute killer futures because of the market balances being supply-demand deficits. I see a lot of deficits for those two metals out in the future. It could be near future, mid-future, and long-term future. There's deficits all the way out there. So those are the ones when you have the valuations as cheap as they are today to be buying today to profit for tomorrow. That's the play on a ratio analysis play for precious metals, silver and platinum. So looking at market conditions here, looking at the ratios, what they're telling us is that we have a commodities boom because all of these commodity type metals are outperforming gold. So when that happens, it's game on for oil, uranium, and all these copper, nickel, all those are game on. And we have the wind at our back showing a weaker dollar and increasing yields. This is all very strong indications that we are in a commodity bull market, that we have inflation, and that we are on the right side of our investments. If you guys like this content, if you like listening to these types of clips, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up button, and I appreciate you guys listening. This is Finding Value.